Hey there, welcome to Mad Mel's Mic. Thanks for joining me. My name is Melissa and this is a podcast all about me, about my life with PTSD, about my life with a husband and kids and friends and everything in between. Thanks for tuning in. Hey everybody and welcome back to Mad Mel's Mic. This is episode 12. So thanks for tuning in and let's get the show started. Episode 12. Wow, who would have thought it? Just quickly before we get started into this week's content, I just wanted to reach out to all the listeners who are overseas. And so part of the Creators app on Spotify, it actually gives you a geographic location of all the locations across the world who are listening to this show. And I find it just mind-boggling. So Australia obviously sits at number 1. Then we've got the United States, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Thailand, India, New Zealand, Russia, Indonesia, Norway, Israel, and Czech Republic. And it's really baffling to think, wow, my little story is getting out there. So that's awesome to hear. This week, I'm not actually going to discuss a work story. I have another story, so we'll get started with that. For those who know mine and my family story, you'll know that we lived in Walgett for a few years and then we moved and lived in Burke, and we were living on a massive big cotton farm out there. It was fully functioning and we were just renting one of the homesteads out there, and it was amazing. It was a brilliant time out there and the kids learnt so much and had lots of fun. But this particular day, the kids were all relatively little when we were living out there, all in primary school. And we had at the time 2 cats, maybe 3 cats. No, I think it might have been 3. So we had 3 cats. And I just want to put a disclaimer in here before I get started that no animals were killed in this story. And I say killed because there might have been a little bit of injuries, and I can't say that no animals were harmed because they certainly were. Anyway, this was not my intention. So the kids were all in bed. I had put a load of washing on, and the house we were living at the time, the front door was like you walked in the front door and you turned hard left, and that was the laundry. So I'd put a load of washing on. I think it was all just like heavy towels and sort of rags more than anything. And we have a front-loading washing machine. And for those who don't have a front-loading washing machine, the rules state to avoid mold is to leave the washing machine open. Anyway, so I put all these loads on. The kids are in bed, meant to be sleeping, and my husband and I sit down to watch 12 Years a Slave. And it's quite a challenging and upsetting movie, to say the least. Anyway, so we're about 50 minutes in, and I had to put the load on a heavy spin cycle. So it was just shit in there that needed a good old wash. Anyway, so during the start of the movie, we could hear this cat meowing, and my husband goes to me like, "What's going on with the cat?" So I got up and went to the front door and saw that one of the cats, Burr, was outside. So I let her in. I just said to my other half, I said, "Oh look, it was just Burr wanting to be let inside." Anyway, so a few more moments later, so it was about 50 minutes from what I remember, and we could hear this massive thud, and it's gone boom, 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 boom. And my husband gets up and he goes, "What the fuck's in that washing machine?" I said, "It's just heavy towels." I said, I dare say it's probably just out of balance. But he's walking towards the laundry and I'm following him because, mind you, I'm just going to pause the story here. I am renowned for breaking washing machines. I put far too much in there. We've always had a front loader and it does something to the shaft. Anyway, so all I could think as I'm following, oh fuck, I've ruined another washing machine. Anyway, so we get to the laundry and my other half opens the washing machine, the washing machine door, and all I hear is him go, "It's 'cause there's a dead fucking cat in here," and I've just gone, and I've burst into tears. I'm going, "Fuck, I've killed the cat. I've killed the cat." And then just beyond the laundry, there was a toilet. And then before you know it, Mackenzie's come out. And I've gone, "Oh shit, I don't want her to see this dead cat." And I'm crying. And she's going, "What's wrong, Mum? What's wrong?" I said, "Oh, it's just the movie, darling. It's really, really sad. Quick, I'll take you back to bed." So I'm trying to hold my shit together. Anyway, so I take her back to bed, go back into the laundry, and Carl's sitting on the toilet with this drowned cat in its hands. And he goes, and he was trying to give it mouth to mouth. And all I could see is this fucking ball of wet fur, and it smelt like shit. Like the cat had had an enema or whatever it is, where they squirt the water up their ass and then clean it all out. So the poor cat had had that, and he goes, "It's not dead." I'm going like, what? How can a cat survive on a 50-minute washing cycle on a heavy load? And luckily that we had the function on our front loading machine where you could add a garment and open it. So at least we could open it. Otherwise, for a lot of front loading washing machines, you can't actually open the door. So it would have been stuck in there for the whole load. Anyway, all I can imagine is that this poor cat, every time it spun around, it's tried to lift its head up to get some gulps of air, and then next thing you know, it's getting spun around and around and around. So the cat smelt like shit. It smelt like nappy sand, because I'm a good nappy sander. And it had blood coming out of its nose. It had blood coming out of its ear. And all I could think of was, shit, how has this cat survived? So anyway, we get the cat and we go sit back on the lounge and finish watching the movie, and I'm a blubbering mess the entire time. I know that the movie was good and it was sad, but I'm not sure what I was crying for, whether the fact that I just nearly killed the cat or the fact that the movie was sad. So here we are sitting on there. This cat's holding onto my husband's fingers like, "Please don't let me go. Please don't let me go." It was in the middle of winter, so the fire was going, and we had this little crate. So we pop the cat in the crate and we go to bed, and all we think of all night is what's going to happen to this cat. So my other half got up quite early in the morning, about 5 o'clock, just to make sure that she wasn't dead before the kids got up. So we get up, the cat is still alive, surprisingly, and all I could think of was, I don't want a cat with a disability. If this cat doesn't use the kitty litter, look, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I can't have a cat pissing and shitting everywhere in my house. So for the next day, I'm watching this cat like a hawk, and she manages to jump up on the lounge, and I went, okay, so she's still getting around relatively well. Like, maybe the spinning and the motion of the washing machine hasn't bumped her head too much and hasn't made her brain rattle inside her skull. And then I vividly remember this cat using the kitty litter, and I burst into tears again going, oh my gosh, this cat has just gone through the washing machine and has survived and is now jumping on the lounge and is now using the kitty litter. Wow, maybe there's going to be nothing wrong with this cat. And then so after she uses the kitty litter, she comes back and sits with me on the lounge, and she farts or burps or something, and literally all I could smell was nappy sand. Oh, it was the funniest thing ever. But this cat lived for another 12 months until she got bitten by a brown snake and died. So once it got past a certain period of time, I think it was like a few weeks, I went, if something happens to this cat, it's not my fault. It's not my fault that she'd been in the washing machine for 50 minutes on a heavy cycle. She died of her own causes, and that was because of the snake bite. So that's a funny little story that the poor cat got washed. And if you actually Google washing your cat, it's quite common, because when with the front loading machines, you leave it open so it doesn't get moldy and things like that. But they climb in there because it's quite warm, so they like it. It's like a little den for them. So for those of you with a front loading washing machine and cats, please check the drum before you put your load on a heavy cycle. That was quite a long story, but I hope you enjoyed it. All right, so we'll get into the song of the week. And this week I'm going back to an artist that we know, well, I know, called Ren. And this song is actually called Hi Ren. And I'm going to put, as I do every week, put the film clip up on the show notes. And I would really push you to watch it, because it's a very good visual representation of what it's like living with anxiety. And he has he has himself, and then he has his anxiety that's sort of in this back and forth between the two. And it's just such a good visual representation of how anxiety works inside his brain, and therefore inside my brain, because it's very similar and I can resonate with it. So I will play a little snippet for you now, that just bear in mind that when you watch it on YouTube, it can be a little bit confronting. There's no trauma points or anything like that, but it's a little bit dark, and then it's good. So I'll play a little snippet of it now, but the film clip goes for about 9 minutes, but I think it's worth the listen to. So here it is.
Hi there, Ren. It's been a little while. Did you miss me? You thought you buried me, didn't you? Risky. Cause I always come back. Deep down, you know that. Deep down, you know I'm always in periphery. Ren, are you pleased to see me? It's been weeks since we spoke, bro. I know you need me. You're the sheep, I'm the shepherd. Not your place to lead me. Not your place to be biting off the hand that feeds me.
So that's just a little snippet of Ren's anxiety. So the song goes back and forth between the two of them, between Ren and then his anxiety. And I encourage you to actually watch the film clip, because the way that they do it is, look, I love it. Anyway, have a listen to it. It resonates really well with my head and how I have to deal with my anxiety. And I often talk about where it's almost like that little figure where you've got the devil on one side of your shoulder, and on your other shoulder you've got the angel. But I like to think of it as my rational brain speaking, and some of the times, and at the moment I'm quite good, but for the past 4 years I've had the issue where my irrational brain is screaming so much louder than my rational. So I know consciously that no, that doesn't make sense. That's not rational, but the anxiety part of my brain is just screaming so much louder that I can't hear the rational side of it. So I think that song just encompasses so much about how anxiety is for me. So yes, please listen to it. If you have any suggestions or anything like that, please also hit me up. Now this week I haven't actually got any notes, so I'm just free rolling, as we like to say. I've actually got no idea if anybody likes to say that, so take that back, ignore it that I said it. But I wanted to talk about the importance of your treating team. So as everybody's aware, I'm off on work cover, so it's all, I have a lot of dealings with insurance companies, and I do not want to get into that because that's just a whole huge Pandora's box that I do not want to open. But I wanted to talk about the treating parties. So for me, treating parties are imperative to your recovery and to your journey. And it starts with a decent GP. So a general practitioner, for those overseas, I'm not sure how your medical thing works, but just your general doctor that you can go in for a head cold or a sore ankle or a broken head. So my GP has been amazing in all of this, and it's very good. The GP is the driving force behind everything. So you need to find a very, very good GP. And I think it's important to know that you may walk into your first appointment and not have any connection or any gel with them. And it's very, very important to remember that it's okay to go and find somebody else. You need to have somebody who's in your corner fighting for you. And that goes along with your GP, so your doctor, your psychiatrist, and your psychologist. And I think you really need to have a decent rapport with your psychologist, because they're the people that you're going to be speaking to on a weekly basis or a fortnightly basis. So having a decent psychologist in your corner is important as well. And that's not to say that you might be seeing the one psychologist for 12, 18 months and then go, actually, I think this psychologist has run their course, and go and find a new one. And that's completely fine, because you need to be able to have that rapport and that back and forth, and you want them to be fighting for you, because they're going to come a time where they're going to need to do reports and things like that as well. So I also see a psychiatrist, and he is attached to the hospital, St. John of God, where I go in northwest Sydney. And they're the ones, well, for me, he is the one who looks after all my medications and things like that. He will go, okay, well, the medication's not helping for your sleep. What other alternative things can we look at, and go from there? So they're the three main parties that are involved in your treatment. So you've got your general doctor, your psychiatrist, and your psychologist. And I think all three of them need to work in harmony with you. And look, they don't ever meet. Well, mine certainly haven't ever met one another. Like, I live regionally, so my GP and my psychologist are local to where I am, but my psychiatrist is 3 hours away. And he continues to see me as an inpatient and as well as an outpatient. And for me, that's something that I want to continue, because having what I've found just through conversations with people in hospital is that they're on XYZ medications from a psychiatrist that they see as an outpatient, and then when they go into hospital as an inpatient, they see a different psychiatrist, and the meds all change and things like that. So I like that continuity between an inpatient and an outpatient, and there's no constant changes of medication. There's no having to retell my story and things like that, because he's the one doctor that sees me as an inpatient and an outpatient. So I think it's very important to have your treating parties on side. So if you have any questions or anything like that in regards to treating parties, flick me a message. I am still trying to navigate social media, and you can even make a comment on Spotify as well. So yeah, just reach out if you need anything. So I'm thinking, this is episode 12. Thinking of just taking a couple of weeks break. Not because I'm not enjoying it, and I very much am really enjoying it, but I'm actually doing a charity fundraiser with 95 women all on postie bikes, and that starts on Wednesday the 8th of April. So I'm not going to be in a position where I'm going to be able to record, and I could probably record something beforehand, but I'm not going to. I just want to get myself prepared for this ride. So for those out there, it's a charity ride for a charity called Wings for Kids. And Wings for Kids is a fantastic organisation. So they transport children from regional communities in New South Wales to medical appointments in the city. And it's a completely non-for-profit charity. And I know people go, oh, not for profit, here we go. But this charity is actually very different from a lot of other ones where there is no CEO, that all the money that is raised in this event goes directly to the upkeep of the planes, the fueling of the planes, that all the pilots are all volunteer, the management and the CEO and things like that, this is all volunteers. So 100% of the funds that are raised for this from this event go directly to helping children, taking them from anywhere regional to the city for their appointments and back again. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's the first time I've done this event. My bestie hiking Mel is also doing it with me, so we're both pumped. And look, this will be the longest I have ridden. We're probably doing about 800 Ks over 4 days, which isn't a huge amount, but it's on a postie bike. And for those of you who don't know, a postie bike, it's only a 110cc, and you're pushing for it to do 80 Ks downhill with the wind behind your back. So we're not there for speed. We're not doing any or very little highway riding. It's going to be back roads and dirt roads and through properties and stuff like that. So it's going to be quite an adventure, and you stay at little regional towns throughout it. So yeah, look, my intention is to do some little videos and recordings along the way and pop it up on the social stories. So yeah, if you want to know more about it, just flick me a message and I can tell you more. And so just before I go, as I do every week, I'm going to finish with the thought of the week. And it goes, sometimes you have to remind yourself that you're something special, that you can't be replaced. Your heart, your mind, your conversation, your care, it can't be replicated by anyone. So just remember that as we go into this week. And remember, kindness is free, but more importantly, be kind to yourself. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to Mad Mel's Mic. I'm Melissa Smith, and I hope you've enjoyed listening. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and don't forget to like and follow. Have a great week, and don't forget to be kind to yourself.